You've gotten this far in your leadership life. Now it's time to level up. You can learn the tools to reimagine, reinvent, and to even love your leadership life. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello. So glad to be back. I took an unplanned summer break from the podcast. Hurricane Beryl roared through town and it took my internet, so I decided, well, why not? And I hope you've taken a break too this summer, but back to where we left off. I had planned to talk about emotions for a couple of episodes. That's because I'm feeling a lot of emotions out there in the air right now, and my sense is that they're kind of misunderstood. A lot of times we avoid them. We're not really using them the way we think we are, and so when we don't realize that we're doing that, we miss out on what they have to offer. And so I want to start with a concept that I call emotional richness. It's when you get to experience all of the emotions on the spectrum of human emotions. It's when you allow and really feel those emotions coming at you, and when you can call up emotions that you want to feel on purpose. So this is what I mean. Most of the time, we are kind of on emotional autopilot. We don't think too much about how we are experiencing our emotions. We're not really noticing how they're influencing our behavior and the actions that we take or that we don't take. In fact, most of the time, even though we think that we are being emotional or using our emotions, we're kind of avoiding emotions. Some of the ways we do that is by resisting emotion. That means that we're pushing against emotion, we're suppressing it. That's when you might get angry with a colleague, but you push against the anger and you force a smile to keep the peace, right? That means you're not really using that emotion. You're just resisting it. Another way we avoid emotions is by reacting to them. That's when we do express the anger. That's probably the main way we think that we are feeling our emotions. The classic example is honking and yelling at other drivers when you're stuck in traffic. But reacting to emotions is simply expressing them in the moment without really reflecting about them. And a third way is to just distract ourselves from emotions that we don't want to feel. We just want to get rid of them. So we look to override them. One of the ways I see this play out is with gaming. Our young people, or maybe not so young people, we sometimes really get hooked on the gaming, and what we might not notice is that we could be overriding some emotions that we don't want to feel. And this is why I always encourage parents and school leaders, teachers, by the way, to learn this work, because it does make such a difference when we really understand our emotions and can get the most we can out of them. And I know we just don't do a great job at teaching emotions. I find that it's quite the opposite, even though I see our schools trying to work it into the curriculum and things like that. But to me, it's something that we have to live and talk about and model, because we were told as children to stop crying, to calm down, all of that. So it's no wonder that most of us don't know what to do with our emotions, or we don't know how to teach about emotions. It's no wonder that we see so many of us either avoiding them or ignoring them or not getting the most out of them. All right, so that's what we're really going to cover. It's all about being able to experience emotional richness so that we can use that emotional richness to enrichen our human and leadership experience. Because when we temper down or avoid difficult emotions, we end up doing the same for the other emotions on the emotional spectrum. If we stuff down stress or anxiety or regret or disappointment or anger, it could be that we're doing the same for joy and peace and love and excitement. It could be that we are inadvertently turning down the volume on all of the emotions that are available to us that could be helpful to us. What I find is that people think that feelings or emotions are not as important as I think they are when it comes to living well or getting results. The thought is, I don't have time to worry about emotions as if they're in the way, but it's really important to notice a few things about emotions. For one, they color your life, they inform your life. When you're emotional about something, that tells you that whatever it is that caused the emotion is important to you. That's one thing. That's how we know what we value. And because emotions are like messengers for what's going on inside of you, when you tune in, they can tell you a lot about yourself and how you're experiencing your leadership life. So that's pretty important. Emotions color and inform your life. When we tune into them, we get to experience the fullness of the emotions on the spectrum of human emotions. When we avoid the more difficult emotions, though, we may dull our overall emotional experience, which means that we don't get the messages. We don't get to experience intense joy or intense excitement if we're not allowing those emotions to come through. So the other thing I want to share is that because emotions are messengers and inform us, when we are disconnecting from them, we may be making it harder to recognize and to savor the positive emotions when they do come around. We end up numbing ourselves emotionally. We end up missing out on that emotional richness and what it has to offer. How we can address all of this is by working on our emotional range. Having a broad emotional range means being capable of feeling and recognizing a wide range of emotions. It means being able to experience emotions like grief and joy. Fully feeling an emotion means being present with it and allowing it. This is how we actually process emotions, by letting the emotion go through the body. When we do this, the emotion goes through in 90 seconds or so, as opposed to avoiding or resisting an emotion. When we do that, it just stays inside. It builds up steam. Fully experiencing emotions is what helps us to build resilience. When we feel the emotions, we get the messages. We figure out what's important. We stop seeking false pleasures to avoid emotions that we don't want to feel. All right. Now, if you want to experience rich emotions, here are some strategies to try. Firstly, remind yourself that while the sensations and the thoughts associated with emotions can sometimes be intense or uncomfortable, the emotions themselves are not harmful. Sometimes just thinking about emotions as a natural part of our human experience and accepting them without judging them, that in and of itself can help us to respond to them in a healthy and constructive way. See if you can just feel your positive and negative emotions without judging them. Sometimes just noticing them is enough to keep you from trying to avoid them. See where they are in your body. Can you describe the emotion? Is it moving? Is it still? Is it hot? Is it cold, or in between? Just notice what it's like in your body. Let it flow through. When you do this, you are teaching yourself to learn from the emotion. You're teaching yourself to receive the message. Another way to explore emotions is through journaling. A journal can be your safe space to write about what you're feeling. Writing about what you're feeling can help you to understand and process your emotions. I like to find healthy ways of expressing my emotions, maybe by talking to a friend who's a good listener. Talking it out can be very insightful. You can try creative activities like journal art. You can find coaches who teach you how to explore your emotions through art or through movement. I do this too. Movement is so helpful for processing emotions. Long walks or whatever form of exercise or movement you prefer, those are all good for letting your emotions flow through. Spending some time in nature is great for this too. Often we're afraid to let those emotions rise. We think we might lose control or cry in front of others or be perceived as weak. But fully expressing emotions and being able to feel all of the emotions on the spectrum of human emotions, that is what emotional health is about. Being able to experience emotional richness, which colors and informs your journey, which builds resiliency. It allows you to really take in those positive emotions like love and hope and peace and to lead from those. And we can always use more of that. Have a beautiful week. We'll see you next time. If you're ready to dive into this work, check out my Living Your Leadership Life membership. It's where you will find the coaching, tools, and community to help you leave survival in the dust and create the leadership life you desire. Go to drjuliabarrow.com and the Work With Me page for more information. And if you know someone else who can benefit from listening to this podcast, send them our link. Our world can use some healing, and it starts with our leaders. Join us.